On March 5th, 1770, an incident occurred in Boston, Massachusetts between British soldiers and the Boston working class. This event became later known as the Boston Massacre. This incident is surrounded by controversy even over 200 years later. Believe it or not, the Boston Massacre all started out as a snowball fight, a one-sided snowball fight. A Boston man was throwing snowballs at a British soldier over a particular personal grievance. However, a crowd soon joined in, throwing ice and antagonizing the troops. The Bostonians were armed with clubs, knives, and swords, and the most popular weapon of the day, your own bare hands. The aggressive crowd created a tense atmosphere as they cornered the armed British troops against the wall. The troops were under the order not to fire, but in the ensuing chaos, several of them did fire into the crowd, killing 5 and wounding 6 people. Why the troops fired is still debated among historians today, but the aftermath proved to be a vital tool for the revolutionaries as they used this event to create anti-British sentiment and to promote the patriotic cause. Today we are going to analyze 2 illustrations that remember this event. Now remember, over 200 years ago, there's no such thing as photography, movies, or any other kind of media and images. Artists were left to depict what events really happened. Our first image was published by the revolutionary Paul Revere. Now because these images are paintings and not actual photographs, we have to remember there's an artist's hand involved. In trying to capture a whole significant, important event into a single illustration, we're going to see the differences in these paintings and the differences of the messages of the event that the artists are trying to convey to you, the audience. Let's start out with Paul Revere's illustration. Notice how the British troops are shown standing in a straight line, shooting their rifles in an organized assault on the crowd. Notice also that Revere's engraving shows a blue sky. Look at the top left, and you will see a moon because the event took place at 9 in the evening. Why do you think Paul Revere would do this? Take a look at the man who fell closest to the troops. What race is he? This is supposed to be Crispus Attucks, an African American who is viewed by many historians as the first martyr of the American Revolution. Why do you think Revere would change his race in this image? Now take a look and try to find a few other clues of your own how this illustration conveys the message of the evil British attacking an innocent unarmed crowd. Let's now move on to our second illustration, created about 100 years later in 1868 by Alonzo Chappell. Notice how the troops are surrounded by a rowdy crowd with clubs and weapons. How is this different than Paul Revere's? Notice where Captain Preston of the British troops is standing. Is he ordering the troops to fire, or is he trying to control the situation? This illustration also is missing Crispus Attucks, the African American martyr. What could be the reasons in 1868 that an African American would be missing from the Boston Massacre? How does Chappell's illustration differ so greatly than Paul Revere's? What memory was each artist trying to convey with their illustrations? Is either illustration the truth? Now I'll leave the big question up to you. Was this a massacre, or was this a riot? This debate continues today amongst historians, and the debate continues on to you now. I know I just asked a lot of questions. You probably don't know all the answers to them. But the important thing is that we ask 3 major questions when we're examining any historical document. We ask who the author is, why they produced this document, and who the audience is. By using these 3 questions, we learn not to take anything at face value. I hope by using this example with the Boston Massacre, we see that there's 2 sides to every story, and not every story has a right answer. There is no right or wrong in the Boston Massacre. It's all up to interpretation. Now it is up to you, the audience, to draw your own conclusions of the Boston Massacre and decide for yourself if it was really a massacre.